Hello and welcome back to episode number 18 of Inside the Vault, a Carolina Panthers podcast. I am your host, Ryan Smith. And as you know by now, this podcast, you can find it on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, on Twitter at KPPounding_FSSN. And this podcast also is powered by Fans First Sports Network on Twitter at FansFirstSN. You can rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. But specifically do so at Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel at youtube.com/Tobacco Radio. Well, here on episode number 18 on Inside the Vault, my guest, he is Nick McCandless. You can follow him on Roll Coverage Pod on Twitter. He does a good job there. Nick, welcome to Inside the Vault. How are you, man?
Hi, man. I'm doing great. I just want to first say thank you for bringing me on. I love the show and everything like that. Been catching up. Haven't got all 17 episodes yet, but I think I got 2 left.
Sure. Yeah, well, if you know what happens next, if you've been getting the Panthers season so far, you kind of know what happens in every game coming up.
Yes, I do.
Got 2 left, but anyway, so we'll start off with just most people have been doing your observations. 1-8 after the Bears lost last week on Thursday Night Football. We won't go back into that game since it's almost a week out at this point, but just kind of your overall arcing observations on the season from the Panthers from a 3,000-foot view.
Okay. So actually I'm actually in Denver right now. So I think about a 5,000-foot view. So I'll take that. But overall, I think that the expectation was very much set as a very high bar as, hey, man, we're coming off of Steve Wilkes, who kind of had a more run favoring offense. We had Baker, we had a lot of those pieces. We got rid of Moore. We expected for this team to just take a massive leap forwards.
Yeah.
We're not seeing that, but we're not seeing that on multiple levels. In fact, I'm actually doing a breakdown. I've already done one on Jonathan Mingo. The DJ Chark one comes out tomorrow. DJ Chark, for example, we went after him thinking that he's going to be somebody that's going to take the top off the defense. That's not the option when you actually go back and look at his draft profile, where they said, yeah, he's a burner. Yeah, he's incredibly athletic, all of this stuff. But you know what they said in his draft profile in 2018, 2019? Is that he couldn't get, he wasn't great getting separation from people. He basically needed a blown coverage to get something. So when we have the basis of that, we have the basis of Laviska Shenault, who people thought was Deebo Samuel for some reason, even though he never showed anything like that in Jacksonville. I understand the Miles Sanders criticism because it's very much been reduced in this offense, but he's also coming from an offense where the offense was him essentially, and we're seeing that now with the Philadelphia Eagles with Swift. So I think it's just overall it's just been a cluster injuries as well. I mean, Chin, Burns, I mean there's just constant things. Horns finally coming back, Von Bell out. I mean, it's just one after another. And yes, I'll give people play calling, I'll give people this and that, but again, my tinfoil hat theory, and I'm going to stay with this, is Frank Reich in this last interview kind of let some stuff go with his body language. He was asked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, please.
We'll get into that. Don't spoil it. We'll get into that. I
yeah.
specifically had a question about that for you because I know your YouTube breakdown, which you've already done on that press conference. So I wanted to specifically ask about that. We will get there.
Okay. But yeah, no, overall, I think we had the expectation of Steve Wilkes had, I think it was 7 wins. So we're going to improve on that, but we're taking a rookie quarterback, a rookie head coach, and I understand he's been a head coach before, but a rookie head coach in this system with this personnel and everything like that. Everything is starting fresh, so I can't expect him to just show up and do it. Like everyone keeps saying, like, oh, we just need to fire Reich. Reich will most likely get the axe at some point. I fully support that. But if we do that and then we bring in some guy from college and we expect him to be, a first year to do it, and he doesn't, then we fire him again, we're never getting better. We're never giving the team the opportunity to gel and all that
Browns
stuff.
From the 2010s. You're just
yes. And don't get me wrong. If I just made actually a little short about Ken Dorsey, I think we could go back and look at Ken Dorsey. I mean, the time that he was with the Panthers, he had a lot of success. That was actually the time we went to a Super Bowl, went to multiple division rounds, all that other stuff. So I can see that, but unless we're going for a proven talent, the only one that I truly believe in is Eric Bieniemy. Unless we're going to get him, I don't think that there's a guaranteed head coaching upgrade right now. Obviously, that's going to flesh out here soon with a lot of firings coming, but
yeah. we'll see what happens. Before we get into
Agreed.
the Dallas game specifically on Sunday, we'll preview both sides of the ball. Just a little bit of news and notes as we've seen around the team. You mentioned J.C. Horn. We looked to get him back from IR. He was activated. We also Ian Thomas, which is also important because Hayden Hurst is in concussion protocol, so that is very important and most likely going to be missing the game on Sunday. But honestly, the biggest news today was our starting left guard, who is a backup normally, Calvin Throckmorton, was waived today. Mike Kay over at the Charlotte Observer does a great job there. You know, his theory was, let's move Bozeman to left guard, and then let's put Cade Mays at center. And then that kind of stabilizes your left guard position a little bit better. And then you have Cade Mays at center, who has experience starting last year in the jumbo RB package and some of the other fill-in positions. So we'll see if that's what they do. I don't think it is. I think it's going to be somebody like Mays or Zavala in that left guard position come Sunday. But Throckmorton was the scapegoat, if you will, for this Bears loss, if you will. That has been where the majority of the pressure has been this whole season on the offensive line, is through the interior, specifically the left guard position, ever since Brady Christensen went out with the triceps injury week 1 down in on I-85. But so we have some pieces coming back. And then you could argue Icky had his best game versus Chicago. I thought, 0 pressures, 1 sack total allowed. Very good game for the offensive line. But as a whole, I think that protection, though, has to get better. And I think, so that's my question. What is kind of the key this Sunday with Throckmorton now getting waived? We're going to have somebody in there like a Zavala, like a Cade Mays, or somebody we don't know. What is the key on Sunday against this ferocious Cowboys D, Micah Parsons and Tote?
Oh, this is going to be real easy. I'm going to set the bar real low for this. Make sure Bryce Young doesn't die. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Just make sure, get him out of this game healthy and everything like that. There's no way, and I'm sorry, this could be a Cardinals Cowboys thing. We could come in there and all of a sudden shock them. Would that be super cool and I'd be super excited? Yeah. Would every pundit go on television and freak out about it? Yeah, of course. But we also have to realize the Cowboys are a little depleted, so I think this game will be a little closer. I don't think it's going to be a 50-0 blowout like them versus the Giants. I think we will be able to put up points. And I think this is going to be kind of that game. Can Thomas Brown overcome this ridiculous defense? I know they were missing Diggs, Van Der Esch, and they're missing a few other pieces, but can he get anything done on offense? And again, if this is Frank Reich and Thomas Brown working together, we need to see something, because this is the thing. These are the games where I need to see points get put on the board, because you're going to be handed the ball like 8, 10, 12 times from them, because they're going to absolutely destroy us, especially if somebody like a Burns doesn't play or something like that. Like, we need to get to the quarterback. We need to get these stops. We need to actually get it done. And we're not going to be able to do that by running Chuba Hubbard, by running Miles Sanders. We're going to have Bryce throw the ball. And I need Chark. I need LaVisca. I need those guys to show up and show something. Mingo had a real bad game and got a lot of people really against him now. This is his opportunity. Can he come in here, get 7 catches for 60 yards and really give us an opportunity to give Thielen, a break? Because otherwise they're just going to bracket Thielen and good luck. We have 9.
Yeah. Well, so you basically previewed the game there on offense. What about on defense? What do we need to see specifically to come up with a victory on Sunday? Or actually, in my notes, I said, let's just keep it close. A victory would be nice, but close. Yes. What do we got to come? But I'll be optimistic. In what world can we beat the Cowboys on defense on Sunday?
In that world is Burns playing, what's that? Oh, Jesus. J.C. Horn playing. Obviously I'd like to have a Chin out there, but he's on IR and everything. But we just need the defense to be put in situations to succeed. I think that it's going to come down to, can Luvu get pressure? Can Burns get pressure? Can Brown get pressure? Even a Tuttle or somebody like that. Deion Jones even. I don't care who gets pressure. Somebody needs to go after Dak, because we've seen him in these games just sit back there. And if he drops 400, yards in this game, we're going to lose by 40. So it needs to be something.
Bagent we saw on Thursday night. I mean, you had Amari Bono, you had Ike Leota, you had DJ Johnson at one point. I mean, you saw life without Burns. If we had traded him before the deadline, or don't bring him back this offseason, which would be criminal at this point, since we clearly haven't traded him, you saw life without Burns. Yetur Gross-Matos is on IR as well. Marquise Haynes, who was activated for Chicago, we knew he wasn't going to do much because he's been out 8 months. I mean, it's going to be
exactly.
It was his first game back. So And then on offense, I would add for myself, we've seen Chuba, we've seen Sanders with some screen passes or maybe using him as a slot receiver. I like Raheem Blackshear. They need to continue to utilize him more. I mean, he's averaging 35 yards a kick return, at least the past two games. He is outstanding, and I think we need to utilize him more. And then Tommy Tremble, I said this on a prior podcast before the season started, or early in the season. Tommy Tremble is a sneaky good tight end. I don't think people are talking about how well we have utilized him, and I think there was an article on Panthers.com. Don't remember who wrote it, but Chuba Hubbard and Tommy Tremble both have been those rule picks, if you will, who kind of have stuck out and put in extra time in the offseason, jugs machine after practice, and are really honing their craft and trying to get better and kind of carve out their role here on this team, not only this year, but going forward. And I think both of them are doing a good job this season and have shown stealth improvement since last year.
I agree 100%. And we're seeing more of those things. The biggest comparison for the Panthers that we've been dealing with is Stroud versus Young. So
which we beat Stroud, but
yes, we did.
But it's one game, but we still did.
It's one game. And he looked great. But Stroud has the one thing that I've always said every young quarterback needs, and that's a really strong tight end. If we were really serious about it, yes, I love Tremble. I love Ian Thomas. Even Hayden Hurst has his little moments. But if we were really serious about winning, to be honest, the one call, and I've telegraphed it a little bit, but the one call that I wish we would have made is, hey, Kansas City Chiefs, are you open to trading Travis Kelce? He's 33 years old. I can give you a second round pick for it, which is going to be a high pick because we suck. And he can come play out his last 2 or 3 years with us and then move on. I think that we need to start looking at the Dalton Schultzes, the Dalton Kincaids. We need a really big tight end to do that. If Tremble and Thomas can stay healthy, I could see them doing that. But I need that position specifically to be not only a great blocker, but he needs to be a dynamic playmaker. That's what as much as offense, as we need offense, we really need a better tight end.
Yeah.
Or we just need Tremble to stay healthy.
And could we see someone like a Mike Strecken, who got a 45, I'm pronouncing his last name right now, 45-yard catch in the Bears game, just off the practice squad, former Colts player with right there. Maybe we should throw him out there. There's some other younger players that are going to get reps here in these last 8 games, as they should. We're 1-8, and I mean, CJ Stroud's got the Rookie of the Year pretty much locked up at this point. If Bryce Young were to actually lead the Panthers to, you keep seeing these people after every loss, 10-7, now 9-8. If Bryce Young were to do that, he would win Rookie of the Year.
Boy, yeah, but that would literally require this entire team to literally elevate overnight.
Obviously. Yes.
I honestly thought coming into the season, though, I'm looking at the depth chart now, I'm looking at this roster construction, I thought we would be moving more towards an offense like an older Baltimore, running, double running backs, maybe 2 tight ends. Yeah. We talked about Laviska being, quote unquote Debo. If we can't even stop Bryce from getting murdered every game, we can't have a Debo show up.
Yeah. And Frank also mentioned no staff changes. Will we see a GM change maybe at the end of the year? I don't think so, just based on continuity. But I get the sense, and this is where I want to kind of pivot. I get the sense it's either going to be both or none. And so I'll kind of back that up with a few different things. And then we'll kind of wrap up with some.
By the way, I agree with you. It's either going to be both or none.
Yeah. Well, this is where I kind of want to pivot a little bit and go into kind of 3 different articles that I saw and kind of give fans who may not be able to see this either because of subscription services or just don't have the time. I'll kind of give you the headline points that and Panther fans should read all these articles I'm about to mention. Not hard to find, most of them. First off was DJ Daniel Jeremiah from New the Sticks, former NFL scout, and now New the Sticks podcast with Bucky Brooks, who is a former Panther scout. His thoughts: pass protection, poor, not much separation downfield, limited run after catch, which we know. When you struggle to protect, you don't have the guys to stretch vertically, the field shrinks, and therefore DBs play flat-footed and drive on everything. Bryce has a depth of target of 6.7 yards. Again, this is all from Daniel Jeremiah. And Bryce can't help those things, but he does need to speed up his process a little bit. He's waiting for college guys, college opening windows instead of NFL windows, which I think you see Stroud doing quite well, throwing guys open. So that's the first one from Daniel Jeremiah. I thought he hit on all those points there.
I couldn't agree more. But that's the thing that I think a lot of people are not understanding. Like, let's say, for example, I'm going to go back to a different game, not even a Panthers game, Broncos Dolphins game, where everybody wrote off the Broncos as, man, they are not even a serious franchise this year. You guys got blown out by 70. Like, what are you guys doing? So the minute we saw that, everyone went in on their offensive line and everything like that, and they're like, oh, Russell doesn't have this help, doesn't have all this help, blah, blah, blah. If you watched the game last night, the Broncos can actually protect Russell Wilson. So we're going to see that succeed. The Panthers do not have that opportunity. He's 100% correct. The line is a shell of itself. And to be honest, I don't think there's one person on that team I truly love at the line. They're all good, but nobody to love.
And then the second, and there's three specific things I'm bringing up here. Number 2 is Diana Rossini from The Athletic. She wrote, and this has been out there the last 24 hours. It's pretty new. The opinion from sources she's talked to in the building, Young is obviously the future, unified belief based on that. But you wouldn't take a rocket scientist to see what she then said. Bryce Young needs help. He needs protection. He needs a run game. He needs cleaner route running from his receivers, and he needs play calling that instills confidence and creates momentum. She said, finally, that David Tepper is frustrated by the offense and lack of improvement. Some in the building believe the roster has been built correctly, while others criticize the offense overall. This is an offense some league sources have described as boring and predictable, even lifeless.
Lifeless. Yep. I read that article. Yep.
That is quite the... and since the other one is Joe Person, also of The Athletic, I'll also finish with him really quickly.
Of course.
His is very short. Several coaches and executives believe Panthers are relying too heavily on shotgun pistol formations with Young and not doing more under center, specifically play action, which would slow down the pass rush because they would have to honor the run and create separation for receivers between the second and third level of the defense. So that was Joe Person specifically talking about his thoughts there in a recent article. I thought those guys also hit their points on the head too. I mean, it's not hard to see what's plaguing this team. If they can just create some of these, the margin for error, as we know, the margin error is very, very tight. But if they can just cut down on the turnovers and just play a little bit of a cleaner football, it doesn't have to look like the Miami Dolphins. We can win some games here.
Correct. I couldn't agree with you more, but see, that's the point. I think that a lot of people have gone on to the coach, game plan, scheme, all that other stuff, but we can drop Nick Saban on this team. This team is not getting better. The personnel needs to be solved first. I think I saw some crazy thing out there that Fitterer has spent like 22 total picks in order to get Bryce Young from beginning to end with trades and all that other stuff. So if that's the case, we have a bad evaluator of talent. And if all the reports and everything are true, our head coach didn't even want our quarterback. Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to get any confirmation on that, but Frank Reich has always wanted tall, strong, big, the whole nine. So I don't know really how we built this team for a system when we didn't have the personnel for it anyways. So it's not just one thing. Yes, it's game plan, it's everything like that. But this team with, again, I always make the joke, we could put Jesus Christ as the head coach, nothing's going to change. Like barring a literal magic show, this team is unfortunately unable to get out of its own way. But going back to what you said about him being under center, Reich actually said in his last interview that Bryce Young took 98% of his snaps from pistol or shotgun. He had less than 2% in all of college under center. So if that's the case, he's going to what he wants. I understand the whole play action and everything like that, but they're not going to respect the run game because they don't respect the line or the running backs. So there's no point in them respecting it. They're just going to bulldoze, Bozeman and Zavala and Icky and everybody like that. And who cares? Either they're running the ball and now I'm already in the backfield, or they're throwing the ball and good luck.
Yep. Well, now is the time, before we get to some predictions, now is the time for your YouTube breakdown really quickly. Frank did speak to the press yesterday, and I'll be honest, there's a couple pictures floating on X or Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. I refuse to. It looks like he is aged between the press conference that he got hired and then the press conference on Monday. I mean, this job has aged him, it looks like, in a short amount of time he's been on the job. He talked about not being a physical run team and like you said, the limited snaps under center. So give us a little bit of encourage people to obviously go watch the YouTube breakdown, but give us the head points of kind of what you talked about in that breakdown from the press conference.
Of course, yeah. If you want to check out the breakdown, it's on my YouTube channel, Roll Coverage, or I have the link on my Twitter/X, Roll Coverage Pod. But yeah, I kind of went down and I went through it, and there's just a bunch of moments where you're seeing him take in the information, process it, and then give the proper response, the head coach response. The main one that I wanted to talk about was when a reporter brought up, you guys know that you guys don't have the personnel for the scheme and blah, blah, and you can literally see him going like this, like shake his head. He's like, yep, yep, yep. And then you see him, he goes and he pauses and he's like, well, it's the scheme and blah, blah, blah. He's giving the right answer, which is what I want from a head coach. I don't want it. A lot of people freak out that he needs to be screaming on the field and throwing stuff. We don't need Bobby Knight. I need a guy to be the adult in the room. I need a guy to instill confidence, to be poised, all of those, buzzwords, whatever I want to say. But I think that we are at the point now where Frank needs to start getting some credit, because I do believe that he's taking the brunt of this to protect not only the staff, but also the players. He's going up there and just taking it in the face. Like, guys are just giving him these terrible, questions, and he's just eating it. He's like, you know what? It's me. I'm the head coach. I accept responsibility, X, Y, and Z. I truly believe, and like I said, before the season even started, I think he's protecting Thomas Brown and Evero and all that other stuff. And again, if we were to jettison him, the criticism on Reich was that he was play calling and he was the head coach. So everybody's solution is to make an interim head coach or be the head coach and also call plays. So I think it's a defeatist thing going back and forth. But yes, he absolutely looks aged. Again, I think it's because he's taking it on the chin. He's trying to give Bryce the opportunity to grow, but he just has to be the punching bag. And I wouldn't expect him to have a long tenure here in Carolina. I'm obviously hoping so. I'm hoping we found our head coach for the future. But I agree with you. I think it's either going to be Fitterer and Frank together, or it's going to be none of them. And that's honestly the worst thing. We need Fitterer gone more than anything.
Yeah.
I'll give Frank a year or two. My theory for him was this year sucked. That's great. Get to the offseason. We don't have a first round pick. Let him deal with the offseason, get some pieces together. And if we end up, 2-3, 2-4 next year, fire him and do whatever you want. But if that's the case, at that point, they both need to go.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah, he's doing a lot for our organization, and a lot of our fans are shitting all over him.
Yeah. Well, we'll get you out of here on 3 predictions. And as I said, my guest today here on Roll Coverage Pod, Nicholas. You can find him there at Roll Coverage Pod. Does a great job. Nick, I ask this on every episode, so you'll be the next person to be asked this question. Brian Burns, after the season, are we going to slap the franchise tag on him, or are we going to get a long-term deal done? That's question number 1.
Deal done. If you look at the salary cap moving forwards, people are whining about $50 million quarterbacks. By 2030, they estimate the quarterback salary to be over $75 million. So give him his money now. I don't care. He's 25. I would give him a 7-year deal, $25 million a year, and I'll give you a bunch of that money up front and a huge signing bonus. Let's just be done with this, because in 2 years, $25 million for a 27-year-old pass rusher is going to be pennies. And then if down the road we want to trade him, now that it's such a friendly contract, it's going to net us a lot more.
Yeah. What is the goal for the rest of this season? Wins and losses, we know we would like the wins, obviously, but we have Bryce Young's development, but that's the easy answer. What's another goal for the rest of the season? What do you want to see in these last 8 games as a whole? Do you want to just see us be able to keep games close? I don't want to say it like that, but other than Bryce Young's development, which is obviously obvious, what other things do you want to see these last 8 games?
I want to see a massive focus on the offensive line. We need to protect him. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is back or who is back there, whether it's Dalton or Young. We need to stop them from getting sacked, getting pressured immediately. I saw some stat that he was pressured at 45% of all of his throws or something stupid. He's being pressured a lot. We need to be able to protect him. If we can't protect him, it doesn't matter the pieces around him. Nobody has the time to get open.
Yeah. And then finally, I won't ask you to make a prediction, as our 1-8 season has kind of alluded to that, but in Dallas is Dallas, and with our point spread being what it is. But what do we need to do to come out with a victory on Sunday against Dallas? What do we need to do? What's the number one thing we need to do?
Defense needs to show up. If we allow Dak to throw the ball, the game's over. I'm sorry. If this stat line ends up with 400 passing yards, like I said before, we're never close. So unless we're getting pressured, unless we can have JC Horn maybe get a pick or two and maybe really make us feel happy about this defense, that's the only way we get out of this close. If our defense is weeks 1, 2, and 3 where we give up, or God, the Lions game gave up 40. I don't really care. Bryce can throw literally every time. He's not going to be able to score 40 points. I'd be surprised if he scored 40 points to this point at this point in the year.
Yeah. Last thing, anything else you want to kind of get out there? Well, you can plug your stuff in a second, but as far as just anything else fans need to know, things that you feel like just using here on Inside the Vault that fans need to know about this team, things that we may not be talking about as much, things that you want fans to kind of take away from this conversation.
Number one, I would say is start looking at the entirety of the situation. I know that we are upset about what's on the field, but what is happening on the field didn't happen when Frank Reich got there. It happened well before him. He's going to take the fall. He's going to get all that stuff. But I think we need to start putting the blame where it is, which is in the front office, which is with the owner, which is with the GM. We need to start really pushing that vitriol that so many have to fire him so quickly and do that. We also need to kind of understand what the personnel is. So many people were sold that dream of 10 wins and a playoff spot, but very quickly should have realized that Chark, Laviska, and even a rookie Mingo can't be expected to carry this team. And again, with our wide receiver one being a 33-year-old wide receiver, who, if he stayed in Minnesota, would be wide receiver 4 behind Jay Jettas, Addison, and KJ Osborne in that order. Most likely. If not, he's wide receiver 3.
Personally, but either way, yeah.
If he's wide receiver 3, then he shouldn't be our wide receiver 1.
Awesome. Well, as I said, he is at Roll Coverage Pod, Nicholas on Twitter there. Anything else you want to plug while we got you?
No. I just want to really appreciate you for bringing me on. You do a really good thing here, and I'm excited to see your 100th episode.
Thank you very much. Well, as I said at the top, my guest today, he has Roll Coverage Pod, Nicholas McCandless. Follow him there. He does great work, and we will see you next time. Thank you, Nicholas.
Heck yeah, buddy. I appreciate you.
And that will wrap up episode number 18 on Inside the Vault, a Carolina Panthers podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Smith. We will see you next time. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And we'll see you next week.